Hello, I'm Nick Pryke and you're watching Meet the Boss TV. In this episode, why keeping up with the digital space will take more than pressing fast forward for the entertainment industry. Over 100 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every minute. Some of the most successful TV documentaries carry a 1,000 to 1 shooting ratio, and your editors are swamped. So how do you keep up to speed with content in the world of media and entertainment? I spoke with Tim Collier, Systems Administrator over at Play Network, to find out, starting with the effect our always-on ecosystem is having on the industry.
Back in the day, even 10 years ago, you had traditional large spinning discs that took a lot of power, created a lot of heat, wasn't very stable, wasn't very secure, and wasn't very scalable. And today we are looking at all of these pain points and trying to figure out resolutions for them in regards to what technologies are out there today as it relates to storage, especially big storage. We probably are moving and storing hundreds of gigabytes and sometimes terabytes on a daily basis. So now we're looking at more object-related storage, scalable storage, NAS storage.
So could you give me an idea then of what your previous archiving systems look like when you maybe compare them to what you guys are about to go with? What was that ignition point for your change?
Our initial archiving systems were set up to basically archive, at the time we thought was something just, we'd never touched the amount of data that this thing could archive, and it would be able to archive 50 terabytes. And again, at that time, it was quite a sizable investment to get an archive solution that would archive up to 50 terabytes. And at the time, we felt, it would take us 20 years to fill that up. Long story short, it took maybe 2 years. So now we're looking at something that would be a little more scalable, a little more accessible, other than tape. I mean, tape is still a viable solution for a lot of environments, but a lot of my data, my assets are huge files. So I still could go with tape, with some sort of tape solution today, but it would be very, very costly. And nowadays, a lot of different storage companies are offering solutions, basically tiered storage, that allow me to utilize storage. It may be a cheaper version of storage, use that for an archiving solution, which is actually a very viable and scalable solution.
How important is tiering going to be for you as you move forward if you were looking at online, nearline and offline? I'm assuming that's going to be an essential part of looking at your content workflows and indeed archiving.
Yeah, I think any company today who is looking at investing a sizable amount of resources, be it time and money, into storage, you really have to take seriously the options out there that are available to you. I mean, again, going back to your traditional tape archiving, that is still a viable option. But today, with the technologies that we have at our fingertips, tiered storage is it's the future that's already here, and we're just now really learning how we can fully take advantage of it. But again, you start to look at cost and return on investment and the cost of ownership over the course of 3 or 5 years. Tiered storage, for the most part, is going to win out every time. It's easier to manage. It takes up less of a footprint, less electricity, less HVAC, less of my time running around, pulling tapes out and putting them in drives and things like that. So tiered storage is definitely the future, and it's here today.
As for Play Network, today's future runs off their philosophy that generic is not an option for business. Quoting, "This notion inspires us to deliver the truest level of customization in the industry by maintaining a creative edge." Yet this edge can only prevail with the right support in place, and that means efficient workflows and exponential archiving capability.
We're basically in business to provide a service to our clients, and the service that we provide is we help our clients communicate with their clients. And to create that, we have to always have the best creative talent available. And in doing so, if we have the best creative talent available and support around them that's going to allow them to simply create and not have the tools in their way, be it in the sense of a workflow, if that workflow is very seamless and very just methodical and does not get in the way of the creative process, then the creative people that we have working for us are doing an incredible job at allowing us to put great materials in front of our clients that help them communicate their message of branding to their clients.
Clearly, you're going to have to bring in that creative workforce at some point to be educated, to be trained on. How does that reciprocal relationship work within Play Network? In other words, what is that human versus technology balance for you?
Well, I think it all starts with training, education, and communication. Again, we bring creative types in to be creative. And the last thing we want a creative person doing is some mundane task that takes them away from being creative. So we want to make sure that, for one, we have the best workflows available. We have a very agile process for being able to manipulate workflows on the fly. We also want to make sure that we have the best training and resources available to our creative talent. And just to make sure that they have the latest plugins, the latest tools, the latest hardware, the best headphones if that's what they need. Whatever it takes, we have to make sure that they have everything at their fingertips. And again, the most important part is making sure that the technology does not get in their way.
Of course. So on the subject of content workflows then, are there any specific challenges within your content workflow at the moment that you're having to overcome hurdles for?
Yeah, usually you'll find that ingest and delivery are probably your largest pain points and bottlenecks. Because for one, you have various different types of assets that are being ingested, and whether or not you have a person doing some manual process to separate and to differentiate the various formats and things that are coming in. And then on the other hand, it's delivery. In order to deliver properly to all of those different formats and different devices, you're going to have to send assets out in 5 to 10 to 15 different types of format, so it's able to be read properly. And that's an ongoing struggle. However, there are great technologies and tools out there that assist in that process. But I think we're at a stage where we're still trying to figure out which are the best tools and which are the best workflows to bring those tools into.
On the topic of moving forward then, clearly there is no end goal. These things evolve, you move along with the times, the tools come, the digital tech side of things moves on, the whole arena moves forward. To date then, with your workflow journey, what have been some of the biggest lessons you've learned? Is there any value lessons that you can get across to our audience when it comes to looking at how to progress your own content workflows?
The most important thing is listening. And you have to listen to the people who actually work within those workflows on a daily basis. They're going to be the ones who are best fit to give you input, direction, comments, concerns on how great the workflows are or how ridiculous they are. It's very easy for me to sit in my office and come up with these really elaborate workflows that I think are pretty cool and neat and are going to show off some really cool technologies. But then when it gets down to production and they're scratching their head and they're saying, well, why do I have to take these 2 extra steps when I can just, go here and it's all done? So that's an obvious roadblock and something that we always have to pay attention to. When you start looking at developing or streamlining workflows, you have to start by doing that by looking at what the requirements might be for those workflows. And the only way you're going to find out what the requirements are is actually talking with the people who are working within those workflows. And there are times when I myself, from more of an administrative role, have to work inside of those workflows. So there are some portions of it where my advice is probably going to be better than one of the creative types, because again, the workflow is basically moving the ball from point A to point Z. So it's going to take many turns, it's going to go across many desks, across many different levels of creativity and technology. And fortunately for me, I'm part of that workflow. So when you're talking about creativity, I mean, we're basically selling creativity. We're selling artistic views, and be it we have to stay within the confines of a workflow and a system. However, the best creativity comes out of a little bit of room to move left and right and forward and backwards at will, without feeling constrained. However, with that said, you still have to make sure that everyone stays within that framework so it doesn't create chaos at the end of the day. If you give too many people too much freedom, it's going to make a lot of work at the end of the day for somebody like myself.
And yet it's exactly this freedom to build that's pushing the industry and its players forward. So what's next? I wrapped up by asking Tim where he thought the next behind-the-scenes evolution would come from.
Obviously, we're looking more and more to the cloud. And slowly but surely, more and more archiving processes, more and more basic storage processes are going to the cloud. And what that's doing, it's allowing for us to take advantage of these assets and these creative pieces in ways that we never thought we'd be able to take advantage of them. We can push content from here to China, in a matter of seconds, have that content localized and streaming on, some television, halfway around the world in no time. So, as it relates to storage, how we're storing it, how we're archiving, again, it's all going to be in the cloud. It's going to be accessible very quickly, very easily. And there are going to be some really cool technologies that we have no idea of today that we'll probably be using as soon as 6 months from now. What really has me excited is, what some of the storage providers are doing is looking at ways that we're really using their storage, and they understand big data. They understand that even a company like us, we're an entertainment company, advertising company. We're looking at big data as well. That's something that we will be able to eventually, in some way or another, offer our clients. That will help them communicate and get their brand messaging across to their clients. So, I'm pretty excited about a lot of the, I guess we would call it object-oriented storage capabilities. And again, the tiered storage capabilities, allowing you to archive on something that looks like, the supersized hard drive, and archive pretty easily with some very sophisticated tools. I think those are the things, keeping in mind that it's all about how much data can we hold and store and archive. The tools that are going to allow us to do those things easily are the things that I'm most excited about.